Hi, my name is Zain, and the topic I will be discussing is regulation of genetic modified foods. What is genetic modified foods? Genetically modified foods are foods that have been genetically altered in a way that is not produced naturally, contains genes from another organism. The use of modern biotechnology or genetic engineering that allows selected genes to be transferred from one organism to another, or foods produced from or using genetic modified organisms are often referred to as GM or genetic modified foods. Novel foods are also known as genetic modified foods and are defined in the Novel Foods Regulation as products that have never been used as a food, foods which result from a process that has not previously been used for food, or foods that have been modified by genetic manipulation. Canada is the third largest producer of genetically modified organisms in the world. The topic of genetically engineered crops is not new. They were first introduced into Canada 15 years ago with four crops: canola, corn, soy, and sugar beets. Why are they produced? They are produced to improve crop protection and production, the ability to resist pests, weeds, and disease. Foods are more resistant and can be kept on shelves for longer periods, and require less herbicides and pesticides. Genetic modified foods are developed and marketed because there is some perceived advantage either to the producer or consumer of these foods. This is meant to translate into a product with lower price, greater benefit in terms of durability or nutritional value, or both. Risks. Here are some of the risks with genetic modified food or organisms. First is environmental. They can create new weeds through outcrossing into the wild. Crops built to withstand herbicides could breed with each other and transfer their genes to weeds, which can result in the rise of superweeds. Outcrossing can also have an indirect effect on food safety and security as the contaminated species make their way into the food chain. Environmental scientists do not yet know what long-term impacts on biodiversity and ecosystem function genetic modified organisms or foods have on the environment. The long-term effects of adding new genes to common crops are still unclear, and also obviously health impacts. There is not known potential health risks. It can create new allergic reactions. Health Canada. Health Canada is responsible under the Food and Drugs Act and its regulations for provisions related to public health, food safety, and nutrition. Through science-based regulation guidelines and public health policy, as well as health risk assessments concerning chemical, physical, and microbiological contaminants, toxicants, and allergens in the food supply, Health Canada works to protect the health and safety of Canadians. Health Canada also conducts pre-market evaluations to assess the safety and nutritional adequacy of novel foods proposed for sale in Canada, including foods derived from biotechnology. It takes about 7 to 10 years in process to research, develop, test, and assess the safety of a new genetic modified food. Under Division 28 of Part B of the Food and Drugs Regulation, manufacturers and importers must submit data to Health Canada for pre-market safety assessments. Food labeling. Special labeling is required for all foods, including genetically modified foods, where safety concerns such as allergens and compositional or nutritional changes are identified. Health Canada, the Canadian Food and Special Agency, the CFIA, share the responsibility for food labeling policies under the Food and Drugs Act. Currently in Canada, labeling is mandatory if there is a health or safety issue with the food. It requires mandatory labeling if there is a health or safety concern. For example, an allergen or a significant nutrient or compositional change requires a decision that would be made by Health Canada in order to inform consumers of the allergen or change. There are some guidelines for labeling as well, which are to ensure labeling is understandable, truthful, and not misleading, permit voluntary positive labeling on the condition that the claim is not misleading or deceptive and the claim itself is factual, and permit voluntary negative labeling on the condition that the claim is not misleading or deceptive and the claim itself is factual. These principles are consistent with policy for all foods under the Food and Drug Act. However, it is not mandatory to label a product as genetically modified or engineered in Canada. So if a food is genetically modified or genetically altered in a way, it does not have to be labeled or stated on the label that it is genetically modified or it has been genetically altered. Conclusion. There is no scientific evidence that states genetic modified foods are better for your health. Even though genetic modified foods are highly regulated and approved by Health Canada and the FDA, labels should include more information on how the food was made and should declare the use or presence of any pesticides and chemicals. This can help consumers because they become more aware and knowledgeable of what they're eating and how it was produced or modified. Thank you.